In 1919, he hit 29 home runs and was sold to the New York Yankees.
A three-run home run for Buffington. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2. Bill Lee is now going over to a couple of the Yankees, and there they go again.
Hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Varitek and A-Rod going at it. Roberts is going. Posada's throw. Roberts safe.
And what can I say? Just tip my hat and call the Yankees my daddies.
Welcome to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. John Senecal, myself, Brian Shackman here. I mean, listen, I don't even know what to say, John. I mean, as we stand here in June, the Yankees are on pace to be one of the best teams of all time, and I'm supposed to be happy that I'm a couple games over 500.
Well, what's crazy is the Red Sox are playing great, and they've lost.
They're not playing great.
Dude, they're like one of the best teams in baseball the last 30 games.
They're beating the little sisters of the
And
poor.
they lost 2 games to the Yankees. That's how much better the Yankees are than them. It's crazy. If you want to put it in the perspective of the 2 teams and not the whole rest of the league.
The only thing I'm holding my hat on is that I want the Yankees to win 120 and then lose in the ALCS.
Like the Mariners did?
That's all I want. That would make me happy. It would make me happy. I mean, I still don't believe.
Hey, listen, I said this to my son yesterday. I said, what's scary is the Red Sox, all they got to do is make the playoffs, right? Because everything changes in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And the Yankees can play as good as they've been playing the whole season, and who knows, anything can happen still. They might not even make the playoffs. You never know. You never know. You never know, all right?
Give me a break.
But anything can happen in the playoffs, right? The Red Sox could come in there, and they could wind up playing each other, and they could just do what they need to do and beat them.
It looks like Cleveland, the White Sox, I think, I just think because of La Russa, they were a joke. But
the White Sox, the Mariners, and what was the other team we were talking about is the biggest disappointment in baseball.
The Mariners are definitely a huge disappointment.
White Sox are bigger probably because they had bigger names.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at that third wild card spot for the Red Sox, and right now it seems like Cleveland's the issue there. You can't just assume the Red Sox are going to walk right into that last spot. But then it's just a one-game season where the one thing the Yankees, if everything goes true to form, the Yankees will at least get a series. You know what I mean? Like, all you want if you're the better team is get a series. You want to avoid a one-game playoff.
You want to win the division is what you want to do.
You have to.
Yeah. It's looking pretty good right now. But it's weird. Like, this wild card is like the Christmas season. It's like every year it's earlier. You're looking at it. Like, you walk into Walmart and Labor Day weekend, you got Christmas stuff out. We're talking about the wild card already because the pack is getting so far apart.
I've been looking at it for weeks. I mean, because that's all that really matters. To me, I don't know. I mean, so you feel good across the board? I mean, Aaron Judge just keeps doing Aaron Judge stuff. What do you like him at leadoff? Do you like him at leadoff?
It's fine. I mean, he gets on base, right? I mean, I'm not a baseball player.
6'8", gets up there and leads off.
If you're going to take the person that's most likely to get on base, put him on base, right? And he plays center field too. Who'd have thought, right? I told you at the beginning of the season, if Aaron Judge can play center field or switch positions, it makes the Yankees so much better because then hopefully Giancarlo Stanton can play the outfield. And I still, man, every time I watch him play, he looks like that kid on the playground or on the team.
Who?
Giancarlo. When he swings and he misses, he looks like the dude who has no idea how to hit.
Yeah.
And then in the outfield, sometimes he'll make this great play. Then, like the other night, he makes a catch, and it's like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he catches the ball. He just looks weird,
Oh,
but he can play, man. He
can
play.
Hey, let's bring in Willie Yan.
By the way, we have a guest.
We do have a guest who, if you don't know Willie Yan, he's born and raised in here in Connecticut. Went to UConn. Has been in pro ball for a number of years. Was released by the Baltimore Orioles and is in the process of deciding. He's playing a lot of baseball, but wondering if he's going to get picked back up to get back in the system or move on from baseball. But we're super lucky to have him here with us. Willie, how are you?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
Good. So we waited. We didn't talk about this off mic at all.
This is the most important question.
Right. Who did you follow growing up?
I grew up a huge Yankees fan. Yeah.
That's part of the state
right there.
No, but that's that part of the state. I feel like that part of the state is like if you do like the Mason-Dixon line, it's not a straight line, but like that part because my father-in-law who grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut, is a Yankee fan.
Yep.
And I don't know. I feel like there's a pocket of Yankee fans up in that northwest
corner of the state.
And that stinks for me. So you grew up in the 90s. So you were, of course he did, because when he was, sucking on his
born in
pacifier, they
1995,
were
right?
winning World Series
Watching
titles.
Dogpile,
Well, that's not necessarily true, though. So you're born in 95, right? So you're 5 years old and you're watching the Subway Series. Do you remember the Subway Series?
So actually, unfortunately, the first World Series I remember is 2001.
And they lost.
Yeah. So I guess I brought them bad luck once I started paying attention.
But even back then, was your dad a Yankee fan?
My mom was, actually. My dad never really cared too much about baseball.
Walt didn't like baseball? Oh, my God.
He does now.
But by the way, I think that might be one of your keys to success, though, because if your dad isn't like super like on top of your dad on the game,
right,
gives you time to sort of chill and play.
Definitely.
So you got your love of the Yankees through your mom.
Yes, yeah. So my grandfather grew up in New York City, huge Yankees fan, and my mom, he moved to Amenia, New York, which is the next town over from Sharon, Connecticut, and then my mom and dad settled down in Sharon, Connecticut. And we would take the train from the Wasatch train station at the top of the metro line straight down to the stadium.
How long a ride?
It's like an hour 45 with a.
You got to change trains?
Yep. Yeah, down in Putnam. Yeah.
That's awesome. And your last stop at 125th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So your father, not a big baseball guy?
Correct. Yeah. So
growing up, so not on the sidelines barking and screaming. Like, 'cause we've talked about this in prior episodes about the umps getting yelled at and everything. Was he one of those parents? He was just quiet on the sidelines watching you play.
Very quiet. Yeah, he was actually. He'd get pretty nervous and just start. It was a stadium. He's pacing around the concourse. Regular field. He's just pacing around the fence.
Yeah.
We pretty much learned. My mom knew more about baseball than him when I was growing up, but he and I learned the game together, which was just a really fun experience for both of us to. He was learning how to train me at, whatever age, if it was Little League or 13,
Now, was he out playing
14U.
catch with you and hitting balls to you and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, throwing BP. I remember when I was in Little League and I was afraid to get hit by the pitch and dive me out of the way, he would take my mom was big in tennis, and he took her like a bucket of 500 tennis balls and would just go like 20 feet away and whip it at me. And sometimes it'd peg me, and I was like, oh, it's not that bad.
That's phenomenal.
It tricked me. That was obviously not the same as a baseball, but that was how I got over my fear of getting hit.
So you remember the train ride down to Yankee Stadium. Just give us one or two quick memories of first ball game or what have you.
Yeah. Oh, I remember my first ball game very well. It was we took the train down it was the home opener 2003, and it was Hideki Matsui's first game at Yankee Stadium, and he hit a grand slam. And it was a freezing cold day. We actually my mom will be horrified that I tell this story, but we forgot mittens that day.
Boy.
So in a pinch, she bought like some socks right outside of Yankee Stadium. We were wearing socks on our hands at the game, but we had great seats. So
you could buy anything outside of Yankee
Yeah, you
Stadium,
can.
apparently.
Right, yeah. We couldn't
And
find
socks.
mittens, but we found socks. Yeah, I don't know how that worked out, but it was. I mean, I'll never forget. We were sipping hot chocolate, watching Hideki Matsui do his thing in the early. That was the old Yankee Stadium, so that was. I feel like that one was a little bit louder than the new one, but
Yeah, I have cut some of the coverage. We were both working at NBC Connecticut. And I was 2003 is like where it all sort of, because that's obviously the Aaron Boone home run year, and that sets up for 04. But I was in Boston. I was assigned to Boston for Game 7 to be there to receive the team when they won, and they didn't win.
Oh, wow.
So the receiving the team was brutal.
Yeah.
And it was just stunning. And that's I've talked about it before on the podcast, but that's when I was like, we're losers, and we will always be losers.
Yeah.
That's the way I felt that day after Game 7 of the ALCS in 03.
And when we talk about the rivalry, the Yankees and Red Sox rivalry, did you notice that growing up where you grew up in Connecticut? For one, now, a lot of people think Connecticut is split right down the middle, right? I come from New York, and it was a big smack in the face coming here to Connecticut and being a Yankees fan, because although they've been very silent lately, Red Sox fans usually always have something to say to you when you walk by them with Yankees gear on or something. Mm-hmm. Did you find that growing up at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I remember, one of my best friends, I met him from playing hockey. We were doing Learn to Skate together, and we would dress ourselves up in Yankees and Red Sox stuff, go out and play wiffle ball, and then like intentionally peg each other and then pretend it's
Start fighting.
Veritek and A-Rod out there. Yeah. It was like, we were like, we'd see a fight, and then the next day we put the jerseys on of the players that fought and then replicate it. So it was,
That's funny.
my friends and I, we would go at each other's necks fighting about the greatest rivalry.
It's wild because you think about it. I mean, it's just so scary to me. He's 24 years younger than me. So he was formative with stuff that were like the last time I really truly cared as an adult. I mean, like to me, like the Veritek A-Rod thing, like changed everything. Like that was the turn that changed the rivalry forever, in my opinion. But he was like 8 fighting with his buddy in the yard. I just think that's incredible.
Yeah, well, they mimic what they see, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the home video back at home.
Oh, that's
my buddy Angus and I beating the crap out of each other.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. I love it. We're talking with Willie Yan here on Fan Base, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. John Senecal and Brian Shackman. We're talking with Willie Yan, professional baseball player in the Orioles organization, and no longer with them, but the most recently, and of course, a star at the University of Connecticut. What do you think of the game right now? I mean, when you watch, we've talked before, and I'll just bring it up. You talked about your style. You're sort of not a big guy, but you can play multiple positions. You can get on base and so on and so forth. And the role of a person like you is not quite as prominent as it was even 10 years ago. What do you, when you watch a big league game, what do you think?
Sometimes there'll be a game that surprises me, but for the most part, it's not nearly as exciting as it used to be, in my opinion. At least watching baseball when I was growing up, there were still guys that would spray the ball around, try to just get on base for the sluggers that are going to drive them in. But now it's like 1 through 9 it's just a slugfest, and you got there's the strikeouts just continue to climb, and obviously that has a lot to do with the quality of pitching and the velocity increasing. But I think the analytics are kind of sucking the soul out of baseball right now, where it's, you could have a guy who's hitting 320, but he doesn't walk enough or slug enough, and he might just sit in AAA forever. It's there's, I think, a little bit too much stakes in the home run ball in terms of, you can get away with it in the regular season, but when it comes down to the postseason and actually winning ball games, are you just going to, slug your way to a World Series ring? Or are you going to have some tough at-bats with 2 strikes and 2 outs and, keep your season alive because you're a quality hitter and not just just a pure slugger?
I read the best sports writing of 2022, and it had a piece from Tom Verducci. I know you like him. Mm-hmm. It was post the Astros fiasco, and then talked about the game and how sort of the Yale econ grad is dominating more than the former player type thing. But they had one very compelling nugget, which was, I don't know if it was 2020 or 2019, what year it was, where for the first time in history, when offense went up, attendance went down.
Wow.
And so, to your point, that the conventional thinking that if you get more home runs, it's gonna draw more attention and be more popular for the first time ever is not true. So the question is, how does the game compensate? So my question to you, John, and to you, Willie, is, if that's the case, because it isn't fun right now, it's not. So what's going to make it change?
Watching it, or I
don't know. What's going to?
Do
you see it staying this way for a long time, or do you see more people reflecting your sentiment and being like, "This sucks. We got to do something different"?
Well, I think people have the same feelings as well, and I'm not sure exactly how it will change. I know in minor league baseball they were making all sorts of tiny little tweaks to the game,
right,
like
pitch clock.
They in AAA they were increasing the size of the bases to increase stolen base numbers, infield hits, bunt for hits, things like that. It's just become so much more difficult to hit because of this with high velocity that they're telling us in the minor leagues now. It's like, hey, striking out, it's the same thing as grounding out. It doesn't really matter anymore. You just gotta try to hit the ball as far and as hard as you can. So I think that alone right there is kind of what's killing the game, where the scouts and the analytical guys within minor league and major league baseball are saying, if you strike out, it's not a big deal. But then all of a sudden it's like a ball might not get put in play for 2.5 innings.
Right.
So I think there's got to be a little bit of give in the analytical side, where it's like analytically it doesn't matter, but it's like you're not putting butts in the seats if there's not a ball getting put in play for 3 innings.
Right.
If the Yankees and Twins are 2 home run slugging teams, and they just they hit 3 home runs and strike out 28 times combined, do people really want to see that, or do they want to see guys stealing bases, a bunch of runners on base, high stakes situations with runners in scoring position, what have you? So I think
I want to see a triple.
Yeah,
that's what I like.
But we
to
talked
see.
about it before. Like, I don't go to a game wanting to see a no hitter, and it's like you leave the game, you're like, wow, I just saw a no hitter, but it was like nothing
boring.
happened.
Right.
Like maybe you probably had that one good catch in the game that saved it that you always get, but it was like other than that,
Well, for me, it's not. I like to see a home run, maybe 2. I don't need to see 4. Like, I like to see a little bit of everything. But I'm with you. This is a great segue. John, if you want to take it back in this direction, I apologize, but you wrote at one point in your blog a little while back about the unwritten rules, and I think the modern macho thing in sports is generally, just overdone. But I'll start with the unwritten rule thing. In your opinion, like, why the hell? I mean, just so like, if you're why can't a 230-pound guy bunt the shift? Like, why not just bunt the crap out of it until they stop?
I think that alone has to do with what you said, the macho part of the game, where guys are like, I'm not gonna waste my time bunting. That's what they want me to do. I'm still gonna try to hit a ball 500 feet. But people they're afraid to just concede and take their base hit because it looks like they're being soft or not performing to the best of their abilities, and the other team is dictating their performance. But I think if you're anywhere as a decent hitter, it shouldn't matter. Take your hit then, and then they'll come in and guard that, and then you have more field open.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Or
I don't know.
about the whole, was it with the Padres the year before when they were all upset about Tatis swinging and hitting a grand slam on 3-0, and they were up by like 6 runs or something. It's like,
well, Gabe Kapler had that whole issue this year with that too.
Yeah, I mean, if you've watched any baseball in your life, you know you can score 6 runs in a Major League Baseball game in the blink of an eye, even with 2 outs.
Well, it goes to the whole show me up thing. Like, I'm not a big fan of the bat flip because all the young people think it's the cool thing or whatever. But like, then if you do it too much, then you're gonna get hit, and then you're gonna have a problem. Like, you're in there. There's the testosterone in the baseball pro locker room must be through the roof. But like, I just find some of it, and correct me, I just find a lot of it profoundly stupid. Like the unwritten rules, like whatever they did in the 40s with 30s with Ty Cobb or whatever, like. There wasn't some code. They just played, and if stuff went over the line, you fixed it. And now there's all these quote-unquote unwritten rules, but they weren't unwritten rules before. It's just how the game evolved. Like, I don't really get it.
I mean, some of them, it's funny how even I feel like every baseball player gets nitpicky with which ones they're okay with and which ones they're not. I think in terms of like hitting on 3-0 or swinging for the fences when you're up by 20, you should never stop hitting in baseball. You should always, because personally, statistically, like all those at bats matter. You should never stop hitting. But like, I'm not in love with Gabe Kapler having guys steal when it's like 10-2.
Right.
I think that can borderline be showing a team up who's just trying to survive the game. You know what I mean? But like, by all means, swing 3-0 and hit a grand slam. I don't care about that.
Interesting.
But and then also hit by pitches nowadays. There's been a couple instances this year where umpires are overdoing it and warning guys where they shouldn't be,
or throwing them out.
Yeah, everybody they're overthinking it to try to protect the players in general. But I think if a guy does something like an outlandish bat flip on a home run that barely clears the fence and the pitcher thought it was disrespectful and you want to hit him in the thigh, it's fine. I think that's part of the game, and that part of me is a little bit of an old school take. You know what I mean? But the reverse is kind of annoying, where the umpires are policing too much and the players get upset with one fastball inside. I can't remember who it was with the Astros, but he's like, I guess you can't throw inside in Major League Baseball anymore.
Well, that's the thing, is you can't, and it shouldn't have to be. And I'm anti. It's hard because this is millions of dollars at stake, livelihoods are at stake. But you get these arm guards and shin guards and this and that, and if you come in 2 inches inside on the plate, all of a sudden you're assaulting his manhood. Like but I'm not a player, so I can only speak to it as a dumb fan sitting in section 163. Like I don't really know, but for me, the inability to throw inside, like I like a bigger strike zone. Like I'm all for it. Like anything that gets bats on balls, I'm for. So if you got to get the guy off the plate a little more, I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I mean,
think if I could hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball out for a home run, I would probably be pretty cool with doing a bat flip. I just think it's such a perspective thing. I mean, you've had Major League at bats in spring training. You've hit 95 or 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. I just don't think people understand what an accomplishment that really is.
Are you guessing? Is it a guess?
Educated guess. I like to, like as Barry Bonds would say, it's anticipation. Guessing's an ugly word. So I'm a lot of the times though, depending on my approach, I'm going up there just trying to look for the fastball and adjust when you see spin. But there are times where it's like, all right, I think he's going to throw a curveball this time, and he does, and you look really good. Or he throws a high fastball and you swing at one at your nose. So
so expecting fastball. Have you ever hit one out expecting fastball getting curve?
Out maybe one time, and that was like when I was super locked in. That when you can when you can look fast, react to slow, and then still barrel the ball
Yeah.
up, that's when you're like at your best. You know what I mean?
That's just incredible. What is it like when you're in? The whole zone thing. So you believe in the zone, right? You believe in being in the zone. That you can be in the zone.
Oh yeah.
You call it
yeah,
locked
yeah.
in.
Mm-hmm. Flow state.
How often has that happened? Can you think of the moments, or
So a moment in particular, at least in pro ball, was May of 2019 was like probably the best month I ever had in pro ball. I hit like 9 career home runs, and 5 of them were in that month. And you feel like you could just go up there with your eyes closed and your barrel is gonna figure it out. It's purely a confidence thing. It's obviously not that easy, but you have the exact same preparation through BP. You go into the cage like an hour before and just rev up the fastball machine. And once you get into that correct routine and you're feeling really comfortable, you feel like you're in autopilot.
one day it just disappears?
It was funny because I remember at least that particular instance, made the All-Star team in high, got called up to Double-A, had like 2 bad games, and then all of a sudden I was playing like once a week.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so when you exit that confidence and that comfortability, it's pretty cutthroat. They don't give you a lot of time to find it again.
So really quickly, when you watch a big league game, if you do, so who do you like in the game right now?
Well, I really enjoy watching, at least for the Yankees, I love DJ LeMahieu. I love his approach. He's got a full field, he can hit line to line, still has some power. Everybody loves Mike Trout, when he's going good, he's one of the most favorite guys to watch. I like Jazz Chisholm with the Marlins. I know he's very flary and showboaty, which is sometimes fun, sometimes overdoing it, but just the raw baseball ability he has is great. I could go all over the place. I like Marcus Simeon's kind of upsetting me this year because last year he was such an amazing player for a guy who
Playing better as of lately, though.
Yeah, which is good.
I feel like everyone just goes to die in Texas, though, man. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, I signed with Texas. Oh, man, sorry.
Forget about it. That's so great. It's just, I don't know. I just think to be at that level, even if you're not an everyday major leaguer, to be a pro baseball player, it's pretty unbelievable.
That's why there's usually smiles on their faces when you see them in the dugout. The guys that aren't playing, they're just sitting there. They're like, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Yeah.
I can't imagine any other thought that goes through your mind other than this is just the best thing that could possibly be. What else can you be thinking?
Well,
if you're in a slump, obviously it sucks.
Well,
but
yeah. If you're in the minors, you want to be a major leaguer. I one more. I went to the yard goats the other night, and I threw out the first pitch. I did a terrible job because I'm a lefty and I can throw hard, but
50 Cent bad or
it wasn't like Fauci bad, but it was bad because I just stopped the release here and it just sort of trailed off, and it was like an ephus that was that would have been behind a lefty. If I threw it hard, I could throw it in the ground or I could throw it over. Like I've never had the muscle memory to repeat my release point. So but I brought my son and a couple of his friends on the field. Who's Double-A, and the players were so gracious. And it's so hard because in the bigs it's so different. Mainly because the distance is there's so many crazy people and there's so much money involved. There's a distance. And my question to you is: are you aware, even at the Double-A level or Triple-A, of your impact on young people?
Definitely. It's pretty obvious when you see these kids come up and they just want to talk to you real quick and you ask for an autograph. And
even though it's annoying, you don't want to do it.
I loved it, because I always tell everybody I was a big baseball fan before I was anywhere near good at it. And I was that kid, at the old Torrington Twisters games. I would go get all the foul balls that I could and ask all the players to sign them. And they were great to me. I remember Steven Strasburg was on that team. He signed a ball for me. That experiences like that made it so that I told myself, if I get to pro ball, if I have the opportunity to make it, I'm gonna treat all those kids like they're me. Like, how would I have wanted a professional baseball player to treat me when I was a kid?
So on a Tuesday, on an 0-for-8 streak in Aberdeen, and little Johnny comes up to you, you're still gonna treat it.
Sometimes it was really hard, and there were last year there were a few really bad days where I just kind of hightailed it to the locker room, hoping nobody would notice that I'm acting different than usual. But I did my best every night, try to sign as many autographs as I could, and try to make one extra kid's night.
Guarantee you did in the process.
What's that?
You made a difference in the process, I'm sure, somewhere down the line.
I just was so grateful for the guys for as gracious as they were to the kids.
I mean, look at my relationship with Bobby Dickerson. It started by me just talking to him in a rain delay in a AA baseball game.
Yeah, and you went to his wedding.
I was in his wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's just like stuff like that. You never know. You know, that's what's great about baseball.
It is something else. So, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I'm just along for the ride.
I feel like you got to come back. You got to come back because
You're gonna play ball this summer around here, probably, right? Do something.
Yeah, right now I'm on.
You're
like
not doing.
3
You're gonna play
different rosters.
somewhere.
Yes, 100%.
Oh, quickly tell the story about like what it's like going from pro ball and then you're playing like good baseball, but not professional baseball, and the story about the 15 strikeout. Like, just tell what the difference for you. You go back and you can rake, and there's so many people who can't even catch up to what they're seeing.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I've gotten used to it now, where most of the pitchers we face, it's not really getting near mid to high 70s, and those are really fun days. But then there are days where a guy rolls up throwing low to mid 80s, and everybody's like, oh my God, this guy's throwing flames, and it's just like, guys, we're gonna be all right, But then our team ends up having like 14 strikeouts, and I have to do everything myself. So it'll happen sometimes, you know what I mean? That's I'm the local Twilight bully this summer, I guess.
Oh, that's
So
really funny. Well, listen, we wish you the best. Anything we can do to help, we will. Willie Yan here on Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry